Have you ever felt like there have been times in your life when everything is just beating against you and you literally can't catch a breath? In this episode, we are going to examine some of those most difficult questions that you face in life. And more importantly, we're going to dive into your subconscious to figure out why it keeps you in a state of struggle and how to decrease the amount of suffering that you face during those times of struggle. Life is full of difficult questions, experiences that leave you asking more questions and offer very little direction. You need a way to tap into your potential and have a roadmap to become the best version of yourself. Welcome to the Neuro Coach Podcast. My name is Trisha Peterson, and this is where we go below the surface into your subconscious to rewire the brain and finally align yourself with the person that God designed you to be. The only thing that you're missing right now is an internal connection between today's thoughts and tomorrow's outcome. So get excited. This one simple question could help you find the missing piece that you always knew you needed, but didn't know how to find. Well, hello, my friends. I am so thrilled to be here with you. This podcast has been on my heart for a really long time. So to have it here in your pocket, on your phones, on your devices, I am thrilled to be here and that you have decided to take a little journey with me as we figure out what is really going on in your subconscious. I have studied the brain for years. I think my studies started about 10 or 11 years ago, studying how the brain works and why your subconscious keeps you stuck in places. And that has led me on an incredible journey that I now get to share with you. And this is so exciting. So I cannot wait for you to take this journey with me to help you be able to figure out what has been going on in your brain and why you continue to struggle with the questions that you do. So we're going to be addressing a lot of questions through this podcast. We're going to be looking at struggles and things that are happening in your life from a lot of different angles. And we're going to be addressing a lot of those questions that you have. So I'm really, really excited about everything that's coming here. And as I started thinking about all of the different tools that we have to offer, all of the different things that we can do to help you along your way, what can I deliver to you in this podcast that will bring a little bit of light into your life, that will help you be able to reach higher than you have before? So I thought about the NeuroCoach Institute and all of the tools that we teach through this school. I thought about all of the students that I have worked with and the clients that I've had and all of the things that we've been able to do, and what things could I give you that would bring the most value. And as I thought about all of these things, and I thought about you specifically, I had the realization you probably don't care. Right? Like, you have questions on your mind and you want to know, what do I do now? You don't care about all of these other people's experiences and all of these things that I can do until we know that your questions can be answered. So we're going to start there. As we go through this journey together through this podcast, I will share some of those amazing stories and the things that have happened as we have been putting together this NeuroCoach Institute, and the students and the people's lives that have been changed. But right now, I want to address the questions that are on your heart. So the question that we're going to be looking into today is, why is life so hard? Now, this is a pretty generic question. We're not targeting anything specifically, and I did that intentionally in this episode because this seems to be the question that we ask ourselves when everything has piled up so much that we just don't know how to take it anymore. We don't know what we're going to do next. So you may be struggling with something in your marriage. Maybe it's something with your family. Maybe you have a challenge that is going on right now at work with a coworker or a boss. Maybe you are in a space where you're trying to do something new that you've never done before. And when we get to that point where we are just so exhausted and we feel like we can't do it anymore, this is when we ask ourselves, why is this so hard? So that's why we're addressing that question today, because this is the thing that we hit when we are extremely overwhelmed in the experience that we have. This is when we feel like we've hit our wall, when we don't know how to continue moving forward. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about the subconscious today and why we ask ourselves this question specifically. So when you ask this question, your brain is looking for an answer. We feel like I've done everything that I can. I have no idea what else to do. And your brain goes into a space of, we need answers. So you ask yourself a question because your subconscious brain must answer every question that is posed to it. Now, it doesn't matter if that question is answered in 30 seconds or in 30 years, your brain will constantly be looking for answers to the questions that you pose it. Now, when a question is posed, your brain triggers a mental reflex that is called the instinctive elaboration. So what does that mean? When a question is posed, in that moment, your brain actually cannot comprehend anything else. It goes immediately, it's a reflex. It immediately goes into this place that says, what's the answer to that? Now, as soon as you throw out, well, I don't know the answer, now your brain logs that question all the way in the back of your subconscious, and it says, we're going to find an answer to that. And so as you are going through and you're thinking about your situation, you're thinking about the current struggles that you're in, you start asking yourself additional questions. Maybe it's things like, am I even making a difference? And all the things that I've been trying, is this even making a difference? You know, you could be asking, like, why don't my kids ever listen to me? I'm trying so hard to help them and they just don't listen. Or maybe you're asking yourself, how did I get stuck here? Because we don't have an answer to the first question, your brain is going to start looking for, well, how can we come at this in a different way? You start asking yourselves more questions. How in the world did I get stuck here? What am I doing with my life? Like, what is even happening here? Okay, what am I doing? So as your brain starts scanning for evidence amongst all of these questions that you're throwing at it, these are really questions that we don't have good answers to. Those questions are going to start confirming why you're maybe not enough or you don't have the skill set. It's going to start confirming, like, maybe this just isn't the right path for me. Maybe that inspiration that I had all that time ago to be able to lead that led me here, maybe that wasn't right. And so questions can either be extremely helpful or they can end up putting you into a cycle. And this is what we call the hamster wheel, where we're just going over and over, asking ourselves these same kinds of questions, but we're just not getting anywhere. And this is what I call a state of suffering, where we sit and spin in questions that we don't have answers to, and we don't ever find evidence that supports anything other than continual struggle. And so this is the state of struggling that I want to be able to help you get out of. So I'm going to give you 2 things that you can do right now to help you get out of the state of struggle. If you can get out of the state of struggle, then you can start moving and we actually get out of that hamster wheel where you may not have all of the answers right off the bat, but you do have the ability to start changing something because you're now on solid ground instead of that continually spinning loop. Okay. So when you allow yourself to sit with questions, knowing that it's okay that I don't have the answer, that gives your brain permission to not seek out evidence. So when you say, why is life so hard? Why am I stuck here? Am I even making a difference? If you can remind yourself, it's okay if I don't have the answer. That is extremely powerful because that is the act of actually stepping off the hamster wheel. That then gives you the ability to become a seeker of truth. So I want to talk about truth for just a moment. Truth is something that we are all seeking in our life. What is truth? How do we find it? Where is it at? Well, one of the definitions of truth is something that can be defined as a fact or confirming our reality. All right. Now, when we start looking at all of these different truths that are coming into our life, we have to be very aware of what is an actual fact, because you have thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts that run through your brain every single day. And sometimes we believe them, but they're not truth. You have deeply rooted beliefs in you that are just simply not true. A lot of times these are called limiting beliefs. These are the thoughts like, oh, I'm just a broken record. And you say that to yourself so many times that I'm just a broken record. Nobody listens. And it's not true, because every time you approach a situation, you approach it slightly differently. The experience, the circumstances, the situation is just slightly different. And so though you may be saying the same kinds of words, you're actually not a broken record. You may be saying things like, oh, I'm just disgusting, right? You look in the mirror and it's, oh, I can't believe how did I let myself get here? Okay, I'm just disgusting. Maybe you tell yourself, I just don't know what I'm doing. That one actually happens to be my favorite. And that is the story that I tell myself all the time. I just don't know what I'm doing. And when you start to recognize that that's actually not truth, I then go into a state of curiosity where I can start to become that seeker of truth. I can start to find what is it that is actually going on. I can ask myself different questions to help me be able to see, I actually know what I'm doing. I just don't know what my next step is. And that is more true. That is the truth. I know where I'm going and how I got there, where I want to go. I just don't know what the next step is. Now I can start asking myself the right question. In order to get to that point, you must allow yourself to sit with questions that you don't have the answer to. Just because I sought out the truth of the situation, where I really truly want to be, I want to be in a place where I know what I'm doing and I know what my next step is, and my path is clear. I allow myself to believe the lie that says, I don't know what I'm doing. Now, maybe you might be the same way, and maybe you have a different lie that you believe and you accept as that truth. But as we start to sit with things and say, okay, it's okay that I don't know the answer to that question, but what is truth? Help you start seeking out truth. What are the facts that you know about yourself? What are the things that you tell yourself over and over and over that just aren't in alignment with who you truly are? And that's what this comes down to. When we understand truth, you must understand who you truly are. Where do you come from? Who are you on the inside? Not when we pile on all of these experiences that make life difficult, that make things challenging. We're going to remove all of those circumstances, all of that experience, and we're going to come down to, who are you really? When your mind begins to align with that truth of who you truly are, and not what you're told to be or what you think you ought to be, but who you are deep down, that is when you can start realigning with actually living the life that you desire. But first, you must be willing to question your thoughts, question your beliefs, and then align those thoughts, align those beliefs with ultimately God, your Father. Now let's talk about God for a moment. He is a big part of my life and will be a big part of this podcast. You may not align with that, and that is okay. When I say God, I want you to have the freedom to align yourself with whatever it is that you believe, whether that is the universe or the spirit or the all that is. I want you to have the ability to align with what you believe there. But God is such a big part of everything that I do and that I do in my work that I will always just call him God. Whatever you call him, please feel free to insert whatever aligns with you. But for this purpose, we are just going to call him God. So as soon as you start aligning yourself with God, you know that you are his child. Now we start to experience the truth that he gives us. We start to experience what it is that he wants us to be able to do. Now, the second thing that I want to be able to give you in this episode, when you get to that point where you say, why is life so hard? Why am I struggling here? The second thing that I want to give you is the ability to find an answer to that. If you can align with the truth first, now we're going to be able to start to receive answers. And we're going to do it in a way where answers seem to come out of thin air, where these answers to these questions that seem so far beyond our grasp, how do you find an answer to things like that? So today I'm going to give you a challenge. If you're in this point of feeling like, I don't know how to move forward. Why am I so disgusting? Why does nobody listen to me? What am I even doing with my life? If you find yourself asking those questions, first, go back to the first step. Align yourself with truth. Become that seeker of truth. Stay in a state of curiosity. But then I want to help you be able to find answers to those questions. So I have two challenges for you. You don't have to take both of them. You can choose one or the other, or you can do both. Both of these suggestions will help you go into that state of finding answers, of stepping into a place where you are living aligned with your truth. So the first suggestion that I'm going to give you, or the first challenge rather, is to keep a journal of all your unanswered questions. Now, you may have more questions in this journal than you have answers. And that's okay, because this is the state of sitting with a question. If you can sit with your questions and write them down in a place where you can reflect on them and return to them, that is going to help you be able to stay out of the place where we are emotionally charged by an unanswered question, and help us stay out of the place where we get sucked back into believing the lies about ourselves, and start to just sit with answers. Now, the answer to these questions, as you review these unanswered questions in this journal, you may be doing the dishes when an answer comes to you. You may be out for a walk. You may be driving into work. Turn the radio off and just listen, because it's in those unexpected moments that your answers begin to come. So keep a journal of unanswered questions, but maybe keep one question per page, maybe two on a page, depending on how big your notebook is. So when you do have those moments where answers begin to come, and that answer helps you stay in alignment with the truth of who you are and who you are trying to become, you have a place to jot down the answers. The more you can build up evidence that I receive answers to really difficult questions that I didn't have answers to before, now you're going to be able to start building up that belief that says, Actually, when unanswered questions come up, I know how to find the answer. Look at all the times that I have before. This one will come too. So keep a journal of unanswered questions, and that will help you go into that place of becoming the seeker of truth and being able to figure out, what is it that I really need to do here? Now, the second challenge that I have for you, it's not quite as long term. So if you want answers much faster, this is a fantastic way to do it. But like I said, you may want to combine these two. Now, for the second challenge, you are going to pose these questions, these unanswered questions that you have, right before you go to sleep. So if you are doing a prayer or a meditation at night, right before you go to bed, the last thing I want you to do is ask yourself this question. Now, remember, this is not the emotionally charged, why is life so hard question, but the truth behind that. Where am I at? What have I done to get here? These kinds of questions will help you be able to align yourself with truth. Will help you be able to find what is going to keep you in alignment with God and the direction that He needs you to go. So pose these questions right before you go to bed. Now, the fun part about this is your subconscious brain actually never sleeps the way that your conscious brain does. Your conscious brain needs that time to rest so that we can have the energy and the mental capacity to go about our day. Your subconscious brain actually never sleeps. It is continually processing things. That's where our dreams come from. That is where our, when we're like gazing off into space, that part of your brain, that subconscious, is always active. So when you pose a question right before you go to sleep, your conscious brain will shut off. That's the part of your brain that stays in this state of struggle. It's in your conscious brain that we stay in a state of struggle because your conscious brain wants to work logically. So we work everything out. And if this is how it's been, then this is how it's always going to be. And that is logical. So if we can quiet your conscious brain and turn on your subconscious brain, you're going to be able to start finding answers in a different way than you ever have before. But you have to pose these questions when you are either very first falling asleep or the very first thing you do when you wake up. If you wait for you to be fully awake and like, oh, I got to sit up and I got to go to the bathroom and get my water and wash my face and all of those things, then you have missed an opportunity to tap into your subconscious. Your subconscious is more alert in the first few moments when you wake up in the morning and the last few moments before you go to bed. Those are the times when your subconscious brain is the most active. And so if you can pose your questions in those moments, the reason I like to do it in the evening is because then my subconscious brain can work on that all night long. And then those very first few moments of when you wake up. Now, the trick to this is whether you wake up at 2 in the morning and you think, oh, why am I awake? You're awake because your subconscious brain found an answer and it woke you up so that you could capture that. So keep that journal that you have right by your bed. Keep that so that you can, in the middle of the night, when everything is dark, capture those thoughts. Just write them down. And you don't have to remember them, and don't worry about spelling and grammar and all of those things. Just write it down as fast as you can and then review them in the morning when your conscious brain wakes up. This is a fantastic way to start answering questions from your subconscious because you have the most access to your subconscious right before you go to bed and right before you wake up in the morning. Now, I know finding these questions, the right questions that align with truth and who you are, can be difficult to be able to navigate because we only have those frustrated questions of why is life so hard. So as my gift to you, I have put together for you a list of life questions. These are questions that you can begin asking yourself in any situation, in any experience that you are going through to help you start aligning with the truth of who you are and aligning with the God that loves you and wants you to continue to move forward on the path that He has set out. If you go to neurocoachpodcast.com/episode 1, you will there find a free download that you can look through that has all of these questions in a lot of different circumstances where you can start aligning yourself with truth. So you can learn to sit with these questions, where you can start asking yourself the questions that are going to help you be in alignment with God, to help you be in alignment with who you are meant to be, where it is that He wants to take you. Thank you so much for joining me on this first episode, and I cannot wait to continue to have this journey with you as we tackle some of life's most difficult questions.
While you were listening to this episode, did you ever think about somebody else? Maybe a friend or a family member, somebody who has these same burning questions. That, my friend, is intuition. So don't be a podcast hog. Share the love and invite them to go to neurocoachpodcast.com to learn more about the tools that we teach here. And of course, they can also subscribe to receive the latest tools and all of the episodes that we produce every week. In case you forgot, you're more exceptional than you think. You're stronger and braver than you allow yourself to feel. And what you are contributing right now means more to the people in your life than you will ever know. Today's going to be a great day. So thanks for diving in deep with me, and I'll see you next week on another amazing episode of the Neuro Coach Podcast.